She was going to her brother's wedding, but an anonymous message made her go to her husband's shed. What she saw there was shocking and changed her life forever. Like the video and subscribe to the channel. Sometimes, life's most beautiful moments hide the seeds of heartbreak, waiting to unravel everything you thought you knew. The morning sun poured through the blinds of Claire's cozy apartment in Austin, Texas, painting the wooden floors with golden streaks. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee swirled in the air, blending with the distant hum of the city stirring awake. It was Saturday, a day brimming with the promise of joy. The wedding of Claire's younger brother, Noah, to his longtime girlfriend, Sophie. Claire, 38, felt a warmth in her chest as she sipped her coffee, picturing Noah's boyish grin and Sophie's quiet strength that seemed to anchor him. As a graphic designer for a local ad agency, Claire had poured weeks into perfecting every detail of the wedding, from the sunflower bouquets to the hand-drawn invitations. Today was about family, love, and new chapters. But in just a few hours, a cryptic text from an unknown number would shatter her world, dragging her into a maze of betrayal that would redefine her life. This is Claire's story, a tale of pain, courage, and redemption, woven into the vibrant tapestry of American life, where family bonds and personal resilience are tested by the weight of truth. Claire woke that morning with a spark of excitement. The sky was a vivid blue, a classic Texas fall day, and the live oaks outside her apartment in the South Congress neighborhood glowed with shades of amber and crimson. Noah, 29, was the family's dreamer, always spinning tall tales that left everyone in stitches, his charm melting even the sternest of their relatives. Sophie, with her radiant smile and quick wit, seemed like his ideal match. Claire, the protective older sister, felt a blend of pride and nostalgia as she slipped into the deep teal dress she'd picked for the occasion, smoothing it in front of her mirror. Her husband, Ryan, 40, had left early, mumbling about a quick errand for his construction business before the ceremony. "I'll catch you at the venue, hun," he'd said, brushing a hasty kiss on her forehead. His hurry left a faint unease in Claire's stomach, but she dismissed it as wedding day nerves. The apartment buzzed with activity. Her mom, Linda, arranged favors on the kitchen counter, while her dad, George, reviewed the guest list with a pen, muttering about last-minute confirmations. Their daughter, Lily, 8, danced through the hallway in her flower girl dress, chattering about her role in the ceremony. Claire took a deep breath, trying to savor the moment. This was a day for celebration. Then her phone pinged on the dresser, a text from an unknown number. "Don't go to your brother's wedding, check your husband's storage unit." Claire's heart skipped. She reread the message, the words sharp and cold. Who would send this? Why mention the storage unit? Ryan rented a unit on the edge of Austin for his business. Stacks of lumber, tools, and dust. Nothing special. Or so she'd believed. She tried calling Ryan, but it went straight to voicemail. The unease swelled, a knot tightening in her chest. Maybe it was a prank, some friend of Noah's with a warped sense of humor. But the message was so direct, so specific. She glanced at the clock, still a few hours before the ceremony. Linda poked her head in, asking for help with the place cards. "Sure, Mum," Claire said, forcing a smile, but her mind was elsewhere. While folding napkins, the words looped in her head. "Check your husband's storage unit." She tried to focus, laughing with Lily about tossing petals down the aisle, but the disquiet clung to her. Had Ryan been acting off? The late-night calls he took in the garage, the work meetings that seemed to pile up, small details she'd overlooked now loomed large. Claire trusted her gut, her knack for sensing when something was wrong. She couldn't ignore this. She grabbed her purse, told Linda she needed to swing by the pharmacy, and slipped out without revealing her true destination. The storage unit was a 20-minute drive, in an industrial stretch near the Colorado River, all concrete slabs and chain-link fences. As she drove, Claire tried to reason it out. Maybe it was a setup, someone stirring drama on Noah's big day. But who? And why? She pulled up to the unit, a low building with a faded metal door. The silence was heavy, broken only by the faint hum of a distant highway. Claire clutched the spare key Ryan kept in a jar by the fridge. Her pulse raced as she hesitated, then slid the key into the lock. The door groaned open, revealing a dim interior that smelled of sawdust and grease. She flicked on her phone's flashlight, sweeping it over the space. piles of plywood, a toolbox, an old Jeep under a tarp. It looked ordinary. Claire almost laughed at herself, relieved. What was she doing, chasing a random text? She turned to leave when something caught her eye, a tarp draped over a stack in the corner, oddly placed, like it was concealing something. Her stomach churned. She crossed the room and pulled the tarp aside. Underneath was a cardboard moving box. With shaky hands, Claire lifted the lid. Inside were items she recognized instantly: a canvas tote, a pair of rose gold sandals, a makeup bag with designer lipsticks. They belonged to Sophie, Noah's fiancée. Claire's legs wobbled. Why were Sophie's things here, hidden in Ryan's storage unit? Her mind raced for explanations, but none made sense. She unzipped the tote, finding a keychain with a heart pendant, a tube of mascara, and a stack of photos tied with a rubber band. Heart pounding, she untied the band and flipped through them. The air seemed to vanish from the room. The photos showed Ryan and Sophie, laughing at a lake, his arm around her, her head on his chest. Another showed them at a rooftop bar, toasting with margaritas, their smiles too close, too knowing. Each image was a dagger, slicing through Claire's reality. She staggered back, clutching the photos, willing them to vanish. But there was more. At the bottom of the box, a journal. She opened it, her hands trembling, and found printed texts, handwritten notes, fragments of conversations. One read, "Baby, I can't wait to be with you for real. Noah's just a stepping stone. You know he's not my forever." Another, "You're my world, Ryan. Once I'm married to him, we'll find a way to be free." Claire dropped the journal, her hands too unsteady to hold it. The truth was merciless. Sophie didn't love Noah. She was using the wedding as a facade, plotting a future with Ryan, Claire's husband of 12 years, Lily's father. Rage flared, hot and blinding. She wanted to scream, to call Ryan and unleash her fury. But something stopped her. She took a shaky breath, forcing herself to think. If she acted on impulse, she might ruin her chance to protect Noah. He deserved to know before he said, "I do." With a clarity she didn't know she possessed, Claire snapped photos of everything: the tote, the sandals, the pictures, the journal. She needed proof Noah couldn't dismiss. Carefully, she put everything back, covered the box with the tarp, and locked the unit, erasing any sign of her visit. Back in her car, her body shook, but her mind was razor-sharp. She couldn't confront Sophie publicly. That would crush Noah. She had to talk to him alone, show him the evidence, and let him decide. As she drove, she called Noah. It took a few rings before he answered, his voice bright with nerves. "Hey sis, you at the venue yet? I'm freaking out trying to get this tie right." Claire swallowed the lump in her throat. "Noah, I need to see you. It's urgent. Can you meet me now?" His tone shifted, sensing her gravity. "Claire, you okay? What's going on?" "I can't explain over the phone. Meet me in the venue's back lot, by the delivery entrance. Please." After a pause, he agreed. "All right, sis. I'll be there in 15. Claire hung up and headed to the venue, her heart heavy with what lay ahead. She knew nothing would ever be the same. Claire parked in the far corner of the parking lot behind the rustic hill country venue, where the shade of a sprawling pecan tree cloaked her car. The afternoon sun burned bright, but she felt chilled, the weight of her discovery numbing her. The photos, the journal, Sophie and Ryan's cruel words spun in her mind, but she forced herself to stay focused. Noah was on his way, and what she was about to tell him would shatter his heart. She gripped her phone, scrolling through the pictures she'd taken, each one a fresh wound. How could Ryan do this? How could Sophie, with her warm laugh and vows of love, scheme something so heartless against Noah? Claire closed her eyes, summoning strength she didn't know she had. She thought of Lily, probably at her grandparents' house twirling in her flower girl dress, oblivious to the storm about to hit their family. Claire had to protect Noah, Lily, and herself, and that meant staying calm and calculated. The crunch of tires on gravel snapped her back. Noah pulled up in his pickup, stepping out in a sharp navy suit, his face a mix of worry and confusion. "Claire, what's this about?" "You're freaking me out," he said, stopping a few feet from her car. Claire took a deep breath, steadying herself. This was it. "Noah, I love you, and I wouldn't do this unless it was absolutely necessary," she began, her voice firm but heavy with emotion. She pulled an envelope from her bag, stuffed with the photos and journal pages. "You need to see this." Noah's brow creased as he took the envelope, hesitating. "What's this? Some kind of joke?" "It's not a joke," Claire said, locking eyes with him. "It's the truth. About Sophie. About Ryan." He opened the envelope slowly, as if dreading what he'd find. His face paled as he flipped through the photos, each one showing Sophie and Ryan in moments too intimate to misread. When he reached the journal pages, his eyes raced over the words, his breathing uneven. "No, this can't be real," he whispered, his voice breaking. He looked at Claire, eyes glistening, searching for an escape. "I found it in Ryan's storage unit, Noah. It was all there, hidden," she said, stepping closer. "I know it's brutal, but it's true. They're together. Sophie doesn't love you. She was going to marry you as a cover while planning a life with him." Noah let the envelope slip, photos scattering on the pavement. He paced, hands gripping his hair, his breaths ragged. "Why?" "I gave her everything, Claire, everything." His voice cracked, and Claire's heart broke. She wanted to hug him, to erase his pain, but she knew he needed space. "I don't know why, Noah, but you don't deserve this." "No one does," she said, resting a hand on his shoulder. "What you do next is your call, but I couldn't let you walk down that aisle without knowing." Noah stopped pacing, staring at the venue where faint music drifted from the gathering guests. He clenched his jaw, fists tight, then looked at Claire with a resolve she hadn't expected. "I'm not marrying her," he said, his voice steady despite the hurt. "Not today. Not ever." Claire nodded, relief mixing with worry. "Do you want me there when you talk to her?" He shook his head. "No, Claire, this is between me and Sophie, but stay close, okay? I'm gonna need you after." "Always," she said, squeezing his arm. Noah gathered the photos and pages, tucking them into his jacket, then squared his shoulders and headed toward the venue's side entrance, where Sophie was likely getting ready. Claire stayed in the lot, watching him vanish through the door. Each minute dragged like an eternity as she paced, trying not to picture the confrontation inside. Suddenly, the door burst open and Sophie stormed out, her white dress billowing, her face flushed with fury. She froze when she saw Claire, her eyes blazing. "You did this, didn't you? You filled Noah's head with lies," she shouted, pointing a finger. Claire stood her ground, arms crossed. "They weren't lies, Sophie. You know that. The photos, the notes, they were in Ryan's storage unit." Sophie opened her mouth, then faltered, her anger giving way to panic. "You don't understand. It wasn't supposed to go like this. I love him." "If you loved Noah, you wouldn't be plotting a future with my husband," Claire shot back, her voice sharp. Sophie flinched, stepping back as if struck. Before she could respond, Noah appeared in the doorway, his face hard. "It's over, Sophie. Grab your stuff and go. I never want to see you again." Sophie looked between them, her desperation morphing into cold rage. Without another word, she spun and ran toward the car that had brought her, her veil trailing in the dirt. Noah stood still, staring at the space she'd left. Claire approached, placing a hand on his back. "You did the right thing, Noah." He nodded but said nothing, his pain raw in every line of his face. The venue, now quiet, seemed to mock what might have been. The guests, starting to sense trouble, whispered among themselves. Claire guided Noah to her car, away from curious eyes. "Let's go home, Noah. Just let me take you home," she said softly. He nodded, his voice barely audible. "Yeah, Claire. Home." The drive was silent, heavy but necessary. Claire knew Noah needed time, and she'd give him that, just as she'd be there when he was ready to talk. Claire pulled into the driveway of their parents' ranch-style home in the suburbs, the porch light casting a soft glow. Noah sat in the passenger seat, staring blankly ahead, his suit jacket crumpled. Claire reached over, squeezing his hand. "You're going to be okay, Noah. Not today, but you will." He gave a small nod, then stepped out, heading inside. Claire followed, bracing for the questions she knew were coming. Linda and George were in the living room, confused by their early return. "What happened? Where's Sophie?" Linda asked, standing, her voice tight with worry. Noah hesitated, so Claire stepped in. "Mom, Dad, the wedding's off. Sophie, she wasn't who we thought." She glanced at Noah, who nodded, giving her permission to explain. Claire shared the truth carefully, sparing Noah the worst details, but making it clear Sophie had betrayed him with Ryan. Linda gasped, covering her mouth, while George shook his head, stunned. Lily, playing in the next room, poked her head in, sensing the tension. "Mommy, is Uncle Noah not getting married anymore?" she asked, her eyes wide. Claire knelt, pulling her into a hug. "No, sweetie, but it's okay. Uncle Noah's going to be fine." That night was long. Noah stayed in the guest room while Claire talked with her parents, trying to ease their shock. But her mind was on Ryan. He hadn't shown up, and his absence at the cancelled wedding only confirmed his guilt. When Claire got home, it was late. Lily was asleep at her grandparents', so Claire left her there. Alone in the apartment, she sat on the couch, phone in hand, waiting for Ryan to call or text. Nothing came. The anger she'd held back all day began to spill over. How could he betray her, Noah, their daughter? Claire pulled out a box of old photos, her and Ryan as newlyweds, full of dreams. Each picture felt like a lie now. She cried, not for the past, but for her blindness to it. She decided she wouldn't wait for Ryan to face him. Opening her laptop, she organized the evidence she'd collected, saving the photos in a password-protected folder. She needed to be ready for what came next: divorce, confrontation, or worse. Then her phone rang. An unknown number. Claire hesitated, then answered. "Claire, it's Matt," a calm but urgent voice said. She frowned, trying to place it. "Matt? Sorry. Who are you?" "I worked with Ryan at the construction firm. We met at a company barbecue a while back," he explained. A vague memory surfaced. A quiet guy with glasses, always watching more than talking. "Okay, I remember. Why are you calling?" she asked, wary. A pause. "I know it's weird, but I sent that text today about the storage unit." Claire's heart raced. "You? Why? How did you know?" Matt sighed. "I saw things, Claire. Ryan and Sophie, they thought they were discreet, but I noticed. When I heard about your brother's wedding, I couldn't stay silent. Someone had to tell you." Claire processed this, stunned. A near stranger had altered her life with one message. "Why not tell me outright? Why the anonymous text?" she pressed. "Fear," he admitted. "Ryan's got pull at the firm, and Sophie, she's tried to manipulate me before, for favors. I didn't want to get caught up, but I couldn't let this happen to Noah. Or you." Claire closed her eyes, a mix of gratitude and exhaustion washing over her. "Thank you, Matt. You have no idea what this meant." "You deserved the truth," he said, then hung up. Claire stared at her phone, the weight of the call lingering. She wasn't alone. Someone, even a near stranger, had cared enough to act. That night, as she tried to sleep, Claire vowed she'd never again be the woman who trusted blindly. She'd be strong, for herself, for Lily, for Noah. The future was uncertain, but she was ready to face it. The next morning, soft light filtered through the apartment's curtains, but the calm didn't match the storm in Claire's chest. She woke early, her body heavy from a restless night, her thoughts tangled in Matt's revelation and the raw pain in Noah's eyes. The apartment's silence, without Lily's laughter or Ryan's morning coffee routine, was deafening. Claire got up, pulled on jeans and a sweater, and made a strong pot of coffee, trying to map out the day. Today she'd confront Ryan, but also support Noah and shield Lily. Every step needed precision, like navigating a minefield. While the coffee cooled, Claire texted Noah, "How you holding up, bro? Want to talk today?" His reply took a while, but came simply, "Trying, Claire. I'll swing by later, cool." She sent back a quick, "Always here," and set the phone down, determined not to push him. Noah needed space, but she'd be there when he was ready. Next was Ryan. Claire hadn't heard from him since yesterday, and his absence at the cancelled wedding screamed guilt. She tried calling, but it went to voicemail, as expected. Part of her wanted to storm his office, confront him publicly, but that was too reckless. Instead, she'd wait. Ryan would have to come home eventually, and when he did, she'd be prepared. While tidying Lily's toys in the living room, keeping her hands busy, Claire reflected on the past 12 years. Her marriage to Ryan was never flawless, but she'd thought it was solid. They'd built a life, The apartment, Lily, weekend trips to the coast, late nights binging shows with takeout. How had she missed it crumbling? Or worse, had it ever been real? The doorbell rang, snapping her out of it. It was Linda, bringing Lily, who ran to Claire with a grin that lit up the room. "Mommy, Grandma said we can make waffles," Lily chirped, oblivious to the family's turmoil. Claire smiled, kissing her forehead. "You bet, sweetie. Waffles it is." Linda lingered at the door, eyes full of concern. "Claire, how's Noah? And you? What about Ryan?" Her voice quivered and Claire saw how shaken she was. "Noah's hurting, Mum, but he's tough. As for Ryan, I'm not sure yet, but I'll handle it. I promise." Linda nodded, squeezing Claire's hand before leaving. Claire spent the morning with Lily, mixing waffle batter and listening to her stories about school and friends. The normalcy was a balm, but the shadow of yesterday lingered. When Lily went to play in her room, Claire returned to her laptop, reviewing the photos and notes she'd saved. She started listing what she'd need for a divorce: documents, joint accounts, Lily's custody. The idea of going it alone scared her, but it also sparked a strange sense of freedom. Around noon, the front door opened. It was Ryan. He walked in, face haggard, shoulders slumped like he carried the world's weight. When he saw Claire in the living room, he froze, avoiding her eyes. "Claire, we need to talk," he said, his voice low, almost a whisper. She crossed her arms, feeling anger rise but keeping her cool. "You think, Ryan, because I think you said plenty in those notes to Sophie." His face went white, and for a moment, Claire thought he'd deny it. But he sighed, running a hand through his hair. "You know, how did you find out? Doesn't matter how. What matters is you betrayed me, Noah, our daughter. How could you, Ryan? How?" Her voice shook, but she held his gaze. Ryan sank onto the couch, hands clasped, like he was holding himself together. "I didn't mean for it to happen. I fell for her. It was a mistake, I know, but it happened." Claire let out a bitter laugh that echoed in the room. "A mistake? You two planned it, Ryan. She was going to marry my brother while you dreamed of a life together. That's not a mistake, that's betrayal." He looked up, and for the first time, Claire saw what looked like remorse. "I know I hurt you. And Noah, I never wanted him to suffer. But Sophie, she made me believe we could have something real." Claire shook her head, incredulous. "And me? Lily? Were we just in the way?" Ryan opened his mouth, but no words came. His silence was answer enough. Claire straightened, taking a deep breath. "I want a divorce, Ryan, and I want you out of this apartment. Today." He stared, stunned, as if he hadn't expected her resolve. "Claire, we can try to fix this. For Lily." "No," she cut in. "There's no fixing this. You broke everything. Now pack your things and go." Ryan hesitated, but Claire's gaze was unwavering. He nodded slowly, standing. "I'll grab some clothes. We'll talk about Lily later, okay?" Claire didn't respond. She stayed in the living room, listening to his footsteps in the bedroom, the sound of drawers opening. When he left, a suitcase in hand, he didn't look back. The door clicked shut, and Claire let the tears fall. It wasn't just the betrayal. It was the end of a life she'd thought was hers. But beneath the tears, something new stirred, the certainty that she was stronger than she'd realized. That afternoon, Noah showed up as promised. He looked drained, eyes red, but there was a quiet determination in his face. They sat on the balcony sipping iced tea, while Lily played in the yard. "I don't know how to move on, Claire," Noah admitted, staring at the horizon. "I loved her. For real." Claire took his hand, squeezing it. "I know, Noah. But you'll find someone who loves you back, who sees you. Until then, you've got me, Lily, Mom, and Dad. You're not alone." Noah gave a small, genuine smile. "You're the best sister I could ask for. If it wasn't for you, I'd have married a lie." They stayed there talking until the sun dipped low, reminiscing about childhood, laughing at silly memories. Even in the pain, they were rebuilding something. Claire felt their bond, forged in heartbreak, growing stronger than ever. The days that followed were a whirlwind of logistics. Claire hired a lawyer, sorted finances, and ensured Lily's life stayed as stable as possible. Lily asked questions. Why isn't Daddy here? And Claire answered honestly but gently, saying sometimes grown-ups take different paths. But she'd always be loved. Lily seemed to accept it, though Claire knew it would take time. Noah, meanwhile, started to find his footing. He picked up his old guitar, a hobby he'd set aside, and began strumming again. Claire encouraged him, and soon he was posting short videos of his songs online. To their surprise, they gained traction, giving Noah a new sense of purpose. Claire felt her own shift. Her job at the agency, once her passion, now felt stifling. She started dreaming of her own design studio, focusing on community projects and local art. It was risky, but it made her feel alive. One afternoon, while sorting files, her phone rang. It was Matt, the co-worker who'd sent the anonymous text. "Hey, Claire. Sorry to call out of the blue, but I wanted to check on you," he said, his voice tentative. Claire was surprised, but his sincerity touched her. "I'm getting there, Matt. It's tough, but I'm moving forward. Why'd you call?" He laughed, a nervous sound. "Honestly, I felt kinda responsible. I just wanted to make sure you were okay." Claire smiled, even though he couldn't see. "You did more than you know. If it wasn't for you, things would be different." The conversation flowed easily, and Claire realized Matt was more than the quiet guy she vaguely recalled. He loved books, shared funny stories about his nieces, and seemed genuinely interested in her thoughts. When they hung up, Claire felt a spark of curiosity, a hint of possibility. Over the next weeks, she and Matt texted occasionally. It wasn't romantic, not yet, but a friendship that grew naturally. He'd invite her for coffee, and Claire, cautious but intrigued, would go. It felt strange to connect with someone new, but Matt was different, patient, kind, with no agenda. Meanwhile, Claire pushed forward with her plans. She leased a small space for her studio, started pitching to clients, and slowly saw her vision take shape. Noah, too, progressed. He landed a gig at a local bar, and Claire was there in the front row with Lily, cheering as he played. Seeing him smile again, guitar in hand, was a healing balm. The divorce finalized months later, smoother than expected. Ryan didn't fight the asset split, perhaps out of guilt or a desire to move on. Claire kept the apartment and primary custody of Lily, with Ryan getting regular visits. Despite the pain, Claire felt a chapter closing. One evening, while setting up her studio, Matt dropped by with tacos and a poetry collection he'd mentioned. "Thought you might like this," he said, shyly handing it over. Claire laughed, touched by the gesture. They talked for hours, and for the first time in ages she felt light, like the future could be more than just survival. Her connection with Matt deepened, but she wasn't rushing. She knew real love didn't need shortcuts. The evening breeze slipped through the open window of Claire's new design studio, carrying the scent of cedar from the nearby park. She sat on the floor, surrounded by sketches for upcoming projects, a mug of tea cooling beside her. The space was small but hers, walls painted a soft sage, shelves lined with art books, and a wooden desk where Lily sometimes doodled. It was a fresh start, built with her own hands, each detail a step toward a truer version of herself. Matt, with his tacos and poetry book, had just left, leaving a quiet warmth in her chest. It wasn't love yet, but a possibility she hadn't dared imagine months ago, when Ryan and Sophie's betrayal had torn her world apart. She shelved the book, smiling at the memory of Matt's shy grin, and decided to lock up and head home. Lily was with Linda, and Claire wanted to spend the evening with her daughter, maybe reading a bedtime story, like they used to when life felt simpler. Driving through Austin's twinkling streets, Claire reflected on the past months. The divorce, Noah's heartbreak, the leap to start her Sikh studio, it had all transformed her. She was no longer the woman who trusted blindly, who settled for a comfortable but predictable life. Now each day brought a mix of fear and thrill, like a blank canvas awaiting her brushstrokes. The radio played an old country tune, and Claire turned it up, singing softly, something she hadn't done in years. It was as if she were rediscovering pieces of herself, long buried. At home, she found a text from Noah. "Sis booked a bigger gig, a festival in San Antonio, can you believe it? Nervous but pumped. You're coming, right?" Claire grinned, proud. Noah was blooming, his guitar opening doors he'd never dreamed of. "Wouldn't miss it, bro, you'll kill it," she replied, already picturing Lily cheering in the crowd. Music had become Noah's lifeline, turning his pain into something beautiful, and Claire sensed he was finally letting Sophie go. The next days were hectic. Claire's studio gained momentum, landing its first big contract, designing the branding for a non-profit aiding local kids. It was work that gave her purpose, and she dove in, crafting logos and planning campaigns. Lily, ever curious, loved visiting the studio where Claire let her scribble on spare paper. "Mommy, I want to draw like you when I grow up," she'd say, and Claire would laugh, kissing her forehead. Lily's presence kept her grounded, and Claire worked hard to balance her career with their mother-daughter moments, like baking cookies or watching animated movies. Noah kept moving forward too. The San Antonio Festival was a hit, and Claire, Lily, and Linda drove down on a sunny morning. The event was vibrant. Food trucks, kids running wild, and a stage for indie artists. Noah took the stage, guitar in hand, his face alight with nerves and passion. His voice carried soulful and raw, weaving tales of loss and hope. Claire's eyes welled up, not just from the music, but from seeing her brother rise again. Lily on her lap clapped wildly, yelling "Uncle Noah" between songs. After the set, Noah hugged them, sweaty but beaming. "You guys came, I'm so stoked, sis," he said, ruffling Lily's hair. Claire hugged him tight. "You were amazing, Noah. This is just the start." That night, driving back to Austin, Claire felt something bigger taking shape, not just for Noah, but for all of them. Inspired by Matt's suggestion, Claire began working on her personal sketches in her free time. They were delicate illustrations, often inspired by Lily and her own childhood. A girl dancing in a meadow, a tree bursting with colorful birds, a sunset seen from her grandma's porch. She showed a few to Matt, who urged her to connect with a friend who ran a small gallery downtown. "You've got nothing to lose, Claire, just go for it," he said, with that steady grin she was growing to love. Hesitant but curious, Claire met the curator, Sarah, who adored the sketches. "They're simple but soulful, Claire. We could do a small show. What do you think?" Claire wavered, fear of failure nagging, but then thought of Lily, Noah, and all she'd overcome. "Let's do it," she said, a thrill in her gut. The show was set for 2 months later, and Claire juggled the studio, motherhood, and prep for the exhibit. Matt helped with ideas, from frame choices to social media posts, while Noah promised to play at the opening to draw a crowd. The work was grueling, but Claire felt a fire she hadn't known in years. It was as if by sharing her art she was bearing her soul, her scars, her dreams. Lily, thrilled, drew a poster for the show which Claire proudly displayed at the entrance, labeled "By My Daughter" in tiny letters. Lily beamed at the idea of being famous, and Claire cherished her innocence. Meanwhile, her bond with Matt grew steadily. They met often, sometimes with Lily, who loved Matt's tales of his rural childhood. He had a natural ease with her, never pushing, but winning her over with patience. One afternoon, painting pottery at a local studio Matt had suggested, Lily looked at him and asked, "Uncle Matt, are you going to be my friend forever?" He grinned, tousling her hair. "If you want me to, Lily, I'm sticking around." Claire watched, her heart warming. It wasn't just Lily. Matt respected her pace, never asking for more than she could give, which made him all the more special. One evening, over homemade pizza at his place, Matt looked at her and said with a vulnerability that caught her off guard, "Claire, I like you. I'm not asking for anything, just wanted you to know." Her heart raced, but she smiled softly. "I like you too, Matt," she whispered, and his smile lit up the room. They didn't rush, no kisses or promises that night. But something shifted, a bridge built between them. The gallery show arrived, and the small space buzzed with life. Friends, clients, family, and strangers filled the room, admiring Claire's sketches. Noah played his songs, their melodies wrapping the crowd in warmth. Lily darted through, showing off her drawings, while Linda and George beamed, telling everyone their daughter was the star. Matt stayed by Claire's side, helping with logistics but also offering quiet support she felt in every glance. When Sarah announced that several sketches had sold, Claire could hardly believe it. She walked through the space, seeing her art on the walls, and felt a fullness she couldn't name. It wasn't just success, it was being seen, being herself. After the show, Claire and Matt strolled to a nearby park, the streetlights casting a soft glow. They sat on a bench and he took her hand, a gesture that felt natural now. "You shone tonight, Claire. Not just the art, but you," he said, his voice full of awe. She leaned her head on his shoulder, smiling. "Thanks for believing in me, Matt. For everything." In that moment, under the starry Texas sky, Claire felt ready for a new chapter, not just as an artist or mom, but as a woman open to the love she deserved. The park where Claire and Matt sat felt like a haven amidst Austin's hum, the rustle of leaves and distant city lights creating a cocoon around them. His hand, warm and steady, held hers, and for the first time in months, Claire felt a peace that needed no explanation. The gallery show had been a triumph, not just for the sales but for what it represented, a milestone in her reinvention. She glanced at Matt, his face softened by the glow of a street lamp, and saw not just a friend, but someone who truly saw her, scars, dreams, and all. "You know, Matt, I never thought I'd be here like this after everything," she said, her voice raw with honesty. He smiled, squeezing her hand. "You're tougher than you know, Claire. And the best part? You're just getting started." His words sank deep like an invitation to embrace what lay ahead. They lingered, talking about simple things, tacos they'd try, books Matt wanted to read, Lily's upcoming 9th birthday plans. When they stood to walk back to the car, Claire felt something new taking root, something she wanted to nurture without fear. The days that followed blended routine with fresh possibilities. Claire's studio thrived, with new clients drawn by the show and word of mouth. She worked on projects that challenged her, like designing murals for local schools, bringing color and hope to kids like Lily. Lily, always full of ideas, became the studio's unofficial mascot, leaving crayon doodles on desks and suggesting unicorns for every mural. "Mummy, unicorns make everyone happy," she'd say, and Claire would laugh, cherishing her spark. Noah's journey continued to soar. His festival gig in San Antonio led to more bookings, his songs now streaming to thousands. He started dating a fellow musician, Emma, whose grounded energy complemented his dreamer's heart. Claire met her at a family barbecue and saw in her eyes what Sophie never had: authenticity. "She's good for him, Claire," Matt whispered as they watched Noah and Emma laugh by the grill. Claire nodded, relieved to see her brother healing. Matt remained a constant, surprising Claire with small gestures. A coffee run on hectic days, taking Lily to community art classes, even trying his hand at sketching to join their creative afternoons. One night, while packing for a weekend trip, he gave Lily a leather-bound notebook with a unicorn embossed on the cover. "For your beach stories," he said, as Lily hugged him, beaming. Claire watched, knowing Matt was winning not just her heart, but Lily's too, in a way that felt fated. "You're too good, you know that?" she teased later when Lily was asleep. Matt pulled her into a hug, grinning. "Just want to make you two smile, Claire. That's all I need." She leaned into him, his heartbeat steady against her, and knew she was exactly where she belonged. The weekend trip was to Port Aransas, a coastal town Claire had always loved. She and Lily rented a beachfront cottage, spending the first day building sandcastles and splashing in the Gulf waves. At night, they sat on the porch with ice cream, Lily's laughter filling the air. "Mommy, I love when we're this happy," she said, and Claire hugged her, tears of gratitude welling. "Me too, baby. We'll have lots of days like this, I promise." Matt joined them the next day, bringing a cooler of snacks and Noah's old guitar. They cooked a messy breakfast together, Matt teaching Lily to make virgin piña coladas, which ended in more giggles than drinks. When Noah and Emma arrived, the cottage became a lively hub. Barbecue, music, and stories under the stars. Noah played a new song, Open Road, inspired by Claire's strength, and she saw Emma wipe away a tear, moved by the melody. It was as if their fractured family had grown, not just healed, bound by ties deeper than blood. Back in Austin, Claire's career hit new heights. The non-profit project led to a contract illustrating a children's book series, a dream she'd never dared voice. The first book launched nationally, and schools requested her art for teaching materials. A larger gallery offered her a solo show, a leap she hadn't imagined possible. She poured herself into it, creating a series that told her story, from betrayal to rebirth, each sketch a piece of her soul. Lily contributed a drawing of a family under a rainbow, which Claire made the centerpiece, a tribute to their journey. Noah wrote a soundtrack for the show, and Matt turned the gallery into a warm, inviting space with fairy lights and wildflowers. The opening was electric. Hundreds came. Friends, clients, family, even Lily's teachers, marveling at Claire's work. Noah's music filled the air. Lily handed out flyers with pride, and Linda and George glowed, sharing stories of Claire's childhood doodles. Matt was her rock, his quiet presence steadying her through the chaos. When Sarah announced that most pieces had sold, Claire felt a rush of disbelief and joy. She was more than an artist. She was a woman reclaiming her voice. Midway through the night, Ryan appeared at the gallery's entrance, holding a bouquet, his face uncertain. Claire tensed but faced him calmly. "Ryan, what are you doing here?" she asked, her voice steady. He shifted, uneasy. "Heard about the show. Wanted to congratulate you. And say I'm proud. And, well, sorry, again. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I'm trying to be better. For Lily." Claire took a breath, weighing his words. The anger was gone, replaced by a peace born of knowing the past no longer held her. "I forgive you, Ryan, but not for you. For me to move on. If you want to be a dad, prove it with actions." He nodded, handed her the flowers, and left quietly. Claire set the bouquet aside, a symbol of closure, and returned to the show, where Matt waited, concern in his eyes. "You okay?" he asked, taking her hand. "Better than ever," she said, smiling. The night's real surprise came later. Matt took the stage, Lily at his side, holding a sign. "Mommy, you're our star." The crowd hushed as he spoke. "Claire, you've transformed your life, Lily's, Noah's, and mine. You're proof a heart can break but still create beauty." He paused, pulling out a small box, and the room held its breath. "Not a proposal, not yet, because I know you move at your own pace," he said, his smile nervous but warm. "But a promise. I'm here for you and Lily. Every step, every dream, every burnt taco." He opened the box, revealing 2 simple rings, one for Claire, one for Lily, each with a tiny unicorn etched. "I want us to be a family when you're ready." Lily ran to Claire, shouting, "Say yes, Mommy," as the crowd cheered. Claire, tears streaming, took the rings and hugged them both. "Yes, Matt. Yes to all of it," she said, her heart full. The night stretched into a celebration of music, laughter, and love, with Claire, Matt, Lily, Noah, and Emma toasting to new beginnings. Months later, Claire's book series was a hit. Her solo show toured other cities, and Noah's music career soared, with a tour planned. Claire and Matt grew closer, planning a future with Lily at its heart. One sunny morning, they returned to Port Aransas, building a sandcastle and writing their names in the sand, vowing to come back yearly. As the waves sparkled, Claire looked at her family, Lily giggling, Matt by her side, and knew the true gift wasn't the success or the rings. It was the love she'd found within herself, the strength to turn pain into art, and the certainty that together they could face anything. Did you like the video? How would you rate it from 0 to 10? If this story has touched your heart, subscribe to the channel and leave your special like-key. It's with your support that we continue to bring you stories full of emotion and hope. Thank you, and see you in the next video.